Hello everybody, my name is Kitetsu and welcome back to my channel. So I thought it would be really fun in this video to talk about the Genestealer Cults. Now some of you will already know this, this lore has been around for quite a while. There are probably lore videos on YouTube about them already. I haven't looked, but hey ho, whatever. I always tend to do my own thing anyway. But basically I am kind of getting really excited about the Tooth and Claw set. And at first, I'm not going to recover old ground in too much detail. But at first I was thinking, well, I was disappointed about the box. I didn't really know anything about Genestealer Cults. And I was thinking it should really have orcs in there. But because they were in there and I read a little bit of the Warhammer community article and found out more about them, I've actually fallen in love with them because they've got such a grim, dark story to them. It's absolutely incredible, the backstory, and this is my journey into 40k with this series I'm doing at the moment. So when I do all this reading about them, it makes sense that I share that knowledge that I've learned, and maybe it will encourage other people to find out what's so cool about this faction and like them as well. So yeah, basically what I'm going to do is just summarize the lore in very, very basic terms because, I've only started reading about this over the last couple of days. But it's all really exciting stuff and I absolutely love this faction. It's funny, I went into that box thinking, I'm going to like the Space Wolves the most. That's what attracted me to the box. And now I actually love the backstory of the Genestealers, I think, even more. So anyway, we can't really talk about the Genestealers without also mentioning the Tyranids. The Tyranids are absolutely terrifying. They've got claws that can literally just tear straight through a Space Marine's armor with ease. But as terrifying as the Tyranids are, I think the Genestealers are altogether just more sinister and creepy. If I lived on an Imperial planet, I would probably fear the Genestealer Cults a lot more than the Tyranids. They can fill a planet with distrust, unease, fear, paranoia, and that's even before you've got one on your planet. That's just the natural human reaction to their existence. But back to Tyranids for a second, why are they such a threat? I'm not going to make the whole video about them, but essentially, in order to reproduce and survive, they need to kill and harvest biological matter. That's bad news for every other race, and to make things worse, there are billions of them. They're quite possibly the biggest threat in the entire galaxy. The biggest safety or protection from the Tyranids is the fact that at any given time, they're most likely to be millions of light years away, or so you hope at least. They can't be everywhere at once, and the chances are they don't know you even exist because you're just floating around on some rock in space a very long way away from where they are. The members of the Imperium can sleep safe at night, knowing that to all but a minority of unfortunate souls, the Tyranids are basically this distant myth, and surely the Xenos can't really be real anyway, and even if they are, they probably can't get here. Unbeknown to most people, the Tyranids have a secret weapon, and that is the Genestealers. When humans first encountered the Genestealers, or in fact when other races encountered them, they didn't actually know that they were related to the Tyranids at first. Well, they didn't really know what they were at all. Occasionally they might encounter one on a lone asteroid in space, which might come crawling out from beneath the ground and hitch a ride on their ship, or maybe just attack them on sight, or maybe they might just find an abandoned ship drifting through space. Little more than a rusted wreck. If you're part of a salvage team or maybe a rescue team, you might go into that rusted hulk of metal floating through space, and the chances are you may never come out alive. In fact, with the Genestealer Cults, that would probably be the best case scenario. The reason for this is that a Genestealer ultimately doesn't want to kill you. That isn't what's scary about them. They basically want to infect you and mutate you. They want to convert you into the very thing you fear the most, which is another Genestealer. It's happened many times that a Genestealer has managed to sneak aboard an Imperial ship and hide itself away in maybe the vents or perhaps an engine room or maybe even among the crew, as you'll find out why in a minute. And they're all totally oblivious to the fact that this Genestealer is on the ship. The Genestealer doesn't want to be found, it doesn't want to fight anyone, it wants to hide and remain there undetected. Then the people of the ship, or the crew, or whoever it might be, they have no idea that as they return to their homeworld, they are bringing with them the worst kind of death. So as I said, the Genestealers are the Tyranids' secret weapons, and the Tyranids need to harvest organic material, but first they have to find them, and this is basically where the Genestealer cults come in. They infiltrate planets that are thriving with life. At first they basically find safety, they retreat to the shadows, and they hide below ground or beneath cities, maybe in the sewers for example. Then you've got the people in the streets above, and they have no idea what lurks in the darkness below their feet. The Genestealers perfectly happy, you know, it's going to survive down there, it needs very little in the way of food or water. They're essentially going to live forever unless something comes down there and kills them. But slowly people start disappearing from the city, not enough to alert people to the fact that there's something truly amiss, but things start going slightly dark and amiss on that planet. It literally only takes one Genestealer, just one, to bring about the ruin of an entire world. It's happened countless times. Below ground, they're biding their time, they're amassing numbers, they're growing in size and power, and they don't even need that many victims at first because they have their own creepy way of reproducing. And as the infected reproduce, they start off this horrible life cycle of mutation. This life cycle eventually will come full circle and result in more of the pure strain Genestealers, but not all of the generations of them are pure strains. That takes a few cycles of reproduction. The first offspring closely resemble a pure strain Genestealer, but they do have some twisted human features. But as these offspring reproduce, their offspring and their offspring's offspring slowly become more and more humanoid. By the fourth generation, they look remarkably like humans, and you would be hard pressed to tell them apart, especially if that particular humanoid being happened to live in, say, a factory or the industrial district and was completely covered from head to toe in workers' gear. You would just have absolutely no idea. And obviously in polite society, it's not normally the done thing to strip people's clothes off, so people would just have no idea what's lurking underneath these clothes or masks or whatever these aliens might be doing to conceal themselves. But this is where the Genestealers are at their most dangerous. Firstly, they are fanatical in their worship of the Tyranids, but they are disconnected from the Tyranid hive mind itself, so they are able to act independently. But secondly, they can start to leave their underground locations and start to infiltrate the populations above. So slowly, more and more people are disappearing, more people are getting infected, and the number of Genestealers is swelling. But not only that, as they're slowly infiltrating the populations above, they're beginning to influence the world and the people around them. They might plant more of that fear within them, they might disrupt and poison key sources of food and water, maybe they might assassinate people on the planet who are military leaders or politicians. To say that this process happens slowly can't really be overstated, because sometimes the indigenous population are unaware that their numbers are rife with Genestealer cult mutants, right up until the point that it is too late basically. These cultists can remain hidden for many years and generations, all the whilst they're basically building up their own power. The disruption that they sow on the planet can be so great that they can even start wars on the planet. It could be civil wars after they've assassinated people, it could be fights over the available water and food on the planet. There's basically no end to the amount of horror they can cause on a planet. But when the time is right, or perhaps when they're provoked to do so, they burst forth from underground at the time their power is the greatest. We've got these unearthly psychers emerging from their lairs, we've got 5th generation pure strain Genestealers, and every stage of mutant in between, and they're just rapidly attacking with unrelenting fury, and the world just begins to fall apart. Bloody chaos just erupts around the planet that by this point finds itself woefully unable to react to the sudden, violent and horrifying incursion. More and more of the world becomes infected, and this is when something strange happens to these Tyranid worshipping mutants. Their leader, which is a horrific patriarch, twice the size of a space marine, starts to emit a signal. The patriarch is what became of that first Genestealer that somehow managed to sneak onto the planet, but now he's huge, terrifying, deadly, and psychically linked to all of the members of his little cult family. The stronger the Genestealers dominate the planet, and the more they infect, the stronger the signal. And this signal alerts the Tyranid hive mind. This is when the Tyranids come. By the time they get there, if the Genestealers haven't completely overrun the entire planet, then the world really is finally doomed. This is the ultimate purpose of the Genestealers. They are the heralds of the coming Tyranids, and they're basically just a terrifying omen of what's to come. Then the survivors of the planet, if there are any, and all of the Genestealers themselves are harvested and destroyed by the Tyranids as part of their own life cycle. That's basically my introduction to the Genestealers. It's amazing, it's creepy, I love the infiltration, the corruption, the impending doom. I absolutely love them, they're amazing. Something I haven't even mentioned in this video is the fact that even other races can be infected and infiltrated by the Genestealer cults too, but it tends to be a little bit less effective. But I also love how their story ties in with the Inquisition's role of seeking out infected humans and Xenos. If they find a member of a Genestealer cult, it's just a serious warning and threat of the cult that exists on the planet and the impending doom. And then they can attempt their purge, hoping that they aren't too late. But yeah, anyway, that is my 2 cents on the Genestealer cults and why I think they are awesome. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like it. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I will see you guys really soon.